What do avocados and the Maui Humane Society have in common? They're both about half pit. What do ripe avocados and money have in common? They don't grow on trees, and that's because avocados don't tree ripen. What do avocados and the government have in common? We're gonna need to throw about half of it away. What do avocados and the October 2018 issue of Cosmo have in common? I'll give you a second to Google it. Go ahead, Google it. Oh my God, no, I was talking about the American one, not the UK one. You know what, never mind. What do you call it when you use an avocado for target practice? Holy guacamole. Why do all avocados look the same? Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why all avocados look the same. And if you think that all avocados look the same, it's probably because you've only ever seen Hass avocados. And while there's hundreds of varieties in existence, including the 200 that grow here in Hawaii, Hass are really the only kind that are commercially available, and it all started in the 1920s with one man named Rudolf Hass. Back in those days, when some global catastrophe was going on, such as World War I, the US government wanted people to grow victory gardens. Victory gardens were just backyard gardens that the government wanted people to have so that people would be spending time together outside, growing their own food, being more self-sufficient, because doing all that stuff makes you happier and healthier. So yeah, pretty much the same as now. Avocados grow great in California, so lots of people had trees there. And the predominant variety at the time was called fuerte. They were smaller and they had soft skin, which is actually not very fuerte at all, but if you refuse to call them that, then you were a Warren G. Harding supporter. Then, in 1926, a mailman named Rudolf Hass planted an unknown variety of avocado in his yard. Hass made 25 cents an hour at that job, and he could afford a yard. Hass tried unsuccessfully to graft fuerte branches onto that mystery tree, and it didn't work, but it did end up bearing tons of fruit that was actually bigger and had a harder skin. So, mailmen are totally not supposed to do this, but his tree was so fertile that he was slipping his avocados to the ladies on his delivery route when he dropped off their mail. And when all the husbands in town started noticing that the avocados in their kitchens didn't look like theirs, they got suspicious and asked their wives, "Are these avocados from my tree?" And their wives would respond, "Of course they are, Daddy. Your avocados are so big and hard." Then one day, this husband was home from work when Rudolf, the postman Hass, knocked on the door with not just the mail, but also his avocado in his hand. And the secret was out. All of the little baby avocados of Whittier, California were in fact the mailman's. In 1935, he patented that avocado variety, and now 80% of the avocados grown worldwide are descendants from that single tree, which totally reminds me of that documentary about the IVF doctor who fathered like an entire town in Indiana. That original Hass tree later died on September 11th, 2002. Never forget. So if you've ever thought, I love avocados and I fucking love chocolate and I wish I could just dip an Oreo into some guacamole without anybody judging me, you are in luck because we are gonna make avocado chocolate mousse today. And it's actually super easy. The only piece of equipment you're gonna need is a food processor. And if you don't have a food processor and you're thinking, I have a blender, that should work. They're basically the same thing, right? Spins around, chops shit up. Well, so does a lawnmower. So scoop into your food processor 2 cups of avocado, 1 cup of cacao powder, and then 1/4 to 1/2 cup of sweetener to taste. You can use sugar, you can use honey, maple, agave. If you want to use dates, be sure that you make date paste first. Date paste is just where you boil dates in water and then you blend them up, not where you copy and resend, "Are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see," to everyone you match with on Bumble. Date paste, more like cheese paste. See how thick and luxurious that is? You can also add 1/4 cup of coconut oil if you want. It'll make it even thicker. Which reminds me of that October 2018 issue of Cosmo. I was talking about Christina Aguilera's eyebrows compared to 20 years ago. This also makes fantastic cake frosting, by the way. Fucking delicious.